Shimo Panolfi, welcome. I would like to start by acknowledging the people of the land which we stand on today. I wish to acknowledge my northern cousins, the Atawanjan people, and acknowledge the treaties and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit. I recognize the significance of the Dish with One Spoon Covenant and its importance to this land, and I offer my utmost respect to our neighbors and cousins, the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Métis people. I speak for my tribe, the Tlaxcalan peoples of Mexico, when I say this. Tlazohcamati Cuelmiac. Thank you, cousins. So thank you all for being here. My name is Colten, and I am a 16-year-old Indigenous high school student. I'm Tlaxcalan, and my tribe before colonization were the longtime rivals of a tribe you most likely know as the Aztecs. As I am sure we are all aware, the modern history of Native people across this continent is a tragic history, with the genocide of our people continuing to this very day. I am Indigenous to this continent, but not to Canada, and this has provided me an interesting perspective for myself, as I currently live and grew up in a settler-dominated society, but I've heard stories of my family and our ancestors all my childhood. I am new to Indigenous activism, and I am learning more and more every day about my people and about all peoples of this land. Where I am from in Mexico, Indigenous people have little to no rights. We either assimilate or are left to fend for ourselves. The government in Mexico does not care about our communities. The stories I hear of how my people are treated in Mexico are not at all unlike the stories I hear here. Indigenous people are a diverse people. We are not a monolith, but we face similar struggles. We share common histories. The root of our problems today can be blamed on the colonization of our lands. I am too far away from my ancestral lands to help people there, but it would be wrong of me to ignore my cousins and their plight here in Canada. So here we are now. When I first heard the story of Colten Bushie, I was unsurprised. Horrified, yes, but unsurprised I was not. I have heard similar stories before, time and time again, back home where my people are from, here in Canada too. The too often heard story of the deaths of our people. We hear it everywhere, as the lives of every single Indigenous person alive today was shaped by the genocide of our people. The death of our own is not unfamiliar. Every time it is just as horrifying, just as sad, but we are a resilient people who push on regardless. We are also a people that know when enough is enough, and we are a people that have had enough of this genocide since the settlers first stepped foot on this continent some 500 years ago. Today, we gather to mourn the death of Colten Bushie, to honor his memory, and to protest the injustice that is his murderer walking free. Colten Bushie was a 22-year-old young Cree man from Red Pheasant Nation in Saskatchewan, who was murdered on August 9, 2016 by a white settler in an altercation that happened on the settler's farm. Colten is remembered as a kind boy with a goofy laugh and a big smile, referred to affectionately by family and friends as Coco. Just a little over a week ago, his murderer walked free with a verdict that said not guilty. As mentioned before, this is not an unsurprising thing. I have heard similar stories all too often, and many promises made to somehow better this country, yet nothing seems to change. Too many settlers have made it very clear that they do not care about the suffering of our people. Too many settlers would wish to see us eradicated as their predecessors did. They say Native people are thugs, and that one deserves the death penalty just for trespassing, which I find ironic, as one must wonder, whose land do they think they are on anyways? Settlers do not care this much about their ideas of property rights when pipelines are being built on Native land. They did not seem to think this when the barricades at Oka were being built, or whenever Native people in this country fight back against the settler colonial government and corporations. The hypocrisy